Hey guys, it's Patrick. It is Tuesday, and on Tuesdays I talk about long hair. I'm actually lying about that. It is Saturday, and on Saturdays I usually wash my hair. So you may not be able to tell. It's really hard to tell with my hair when it's wet. My hair is actually sopping wet. When I pull it apart like this, you can tell. But my hair is so thick and so finely textured that it just kind of hangs the same way, whether it's wet or dry, and the way that I wear it is fairly flat, so it's hard to tell. But my hair is actually sopping wet. I just got out of the shower. That's also why my face is so flushed, because I am Irish and very, very pale. Anyway, this video is a request from someone who asked me if I could review the wet brush. A wet brush is a product that has gotten a little bit of traction over the past, I don't know, say a year or so. Wet brushes are meant to do something that you are told not to do a lot of times when you're growing your hair, which is don't brush your hair when it's wet. The advice we all get as guys growing out our long hair is if you're going to brush your hair or if you want to detangle your hair while it's wet, use your fingers or use a very wide tooth comb, which is generally what I do. Occasionally though, I find that using the wide tooth comb doesn't really get, especially on the ends, especially as the ends get a little rattier and rattier. And if you've been along with me for a while, my ends have gotten very ratty because I didn't cut my hair for a very long time. The comb just wouldn't even get through it. It would take a lot of work to get through it, and I would occasionally just use a brush on that. The reason that you don't want to use a brush on wet hair, they say, is that your hair is more elastic. It tends to stretch more, and it can stretch to the breaking point much easier. It's a little weaker. It stretches and then breaks off. It's also clumped together more. The water holds it all together a bit in whatever product you've used. So it's best to use something that's a little bit gentler. So these wet brushes or detangling brushes are products that you can use on wet hair or damp hair in order to get through the tangles and get through the wet hair and not cause as much damage. I bought two, and first of all, let me just talk about my regular hairbrush. My regular hairbrush has hair all over it. I'm sorry, but the regular hairbrush, the bristles they're fairly thick, if you can see. Let me just hold that up right there. And I do apologize, I haven't washed it out as I should have. They're fairly thick, and then they have these little balls on the end, these little knobs on the end, and all of that, they're thick because there's a little protective coating. It's like a little rubber coating on there, and then the little balls are meant to protect your scalp as you pull this through your hair. However, the thickness of this, the relative, you can't really move the bristles very much, so they're relatively stiff like that. And then these little ends here tend to catch on your hair, and your hair can just wrap around on that, and it can pull your hair out. So the first brush that I got, because it was specifically requested, is this, there we go, wet detangle brush, the actual wet logo company. And that looks like this. And if you can see the difference between the two, let's see if I can put them together. There we go. So you've got thicker bristles here that don't move very much, and then these are much thinner bristles that they really have a tremendous amount of give. They do have the little knobs on the end, the little balls on the end, but as you pull this through your hair, I have noticed that it really does. What happens is, if your hair tangles at all around the brush just gives way. So instead of pulling and being a resistance against your hair, where it can actually just, if it's brush versus hair, brush wins. With the regular hairbrush, it'll just pull out your hair as you go or break your hair. With these, hair tends to win. So the hair will just pull itself completely out of the brush as you're detangling it, for the most part. I do find this very gentle. I will say my hair is quite straight and doesn't tend to tangle very much. So if you have curly hair, if you have more coarse hair, I would say this, the little ends here that are on here, as you can see, they could still snag hair as it's pulling through your hair. And actually, even with my hair, which doesn't tangle very easily, it can still happen. I did buy a second product because I had actually bought it for a friend of mine for Christmas just to throw into her stocking. I had seen it at, I think, Bed Bath & Beyond, and then when I was ordering the wet brush for myself, I saw it again, which is this, and it's, I don't even remember if this is the same company, but it's called, this one's called Crave. It's a detangling brush. And it's basically the same sort of thing. It's got an interesting shape to it, which is kind of cool. It's also very bright, which you will not miss this in the bathroom. It's right there. But if you notice on this one, get the hair out of it, this one doesn't have any, there's no difference between the ends and the bristles themselves. In fact, they taper to kind of a point there. It's incredibly soft. They all just give, you know, the bristles just give right away. This, I found, works much, much better for my hair. As I pull it through my hair, I don't even feel it when it's wet. And if I was using my regular brush on my hair, on my type of hair, which is straight, fine, thick hair, this just pulls right through my hair with no problem at all, no tangles. I have not seen very many hairs on this brush at all, except for the ones that kind of are all over my house. Right. Gracie agrees. So for my hair, I found that this this Crave, this type of detangling brush works a lot better on my hair than the wet brush. But again, this is something that you may want to just test yourself. Neither one of these products was very expensive. Usually a good brush, a decent brush, is going to run you, I don't know, $4 or $5. These each were about $8 or $9, so a little bit more. You can probably find ones that are less expensive if you didn't buy them online, if you actually went shopping at, say, beauty supply stores or even a drugstore that may have some on sale. So you can get them down to the regular price. But I would say either one of them is definitely worth your time. And either one of them is probably going to work if you have the same type of hair that I do. If you have curlier hair, if you have kinky hair, if you have very coarse hair, you may not find that this works the same way for you. So definitely, this is not an endorsement. It's just my experience with these. I will also say that I was going to say that this at the beginning, that the Long Hairs, which is another channel on YouTube, did a review of the wet brush earlier, a couple months earlier than this, and you definitely should check them out. I will put their link in the description, and I'll try to put it right here if I remember while I'm editing. Sometimes I forget, but Patrick, remember to put something for the Long Hairs right there. They're a great channel, and they review products, and they have some of their own products as well, and I've reviewed their products before as well. So definitely give them a look. I'm here every Tuesday to talk about long hair. Sometimes I even record it on Saturday. It would be great if you'd subscribe and just hang out if you want to be notified whenever I have a new video. I also do other things on this channel like cook, and I have a series where we have a cat that talks about self-esteem, which is about as weird as you'd expect, but it's really fun. Thanks so much for joining me, and hope to see you again.